All right, today we're not just telling a story, we're breaking it down. We're going to look at the classic tale of a clever rabbit and a proud lion, but we're going to reframe it as a total masterclass in strategy, influence, and what you might call smart power. Let's get into it.
So this one line, right at the start, tells you everything. This is not your grandma's bedtime story. It sets the tone for a street-smart look at power dynamics. And that's exactly how we're going to treat it, like a tactical breakdown.
Okay, so every strategy has to start with a problem, right? And in this forest, the problem had a crown, a massive ego, and was making life miserable for everyone. The lion's big flex crown energy was completely out of control, and it created this climate of fear where everyone was, well, scared to breathe. This is the kind of situation that cries out for a new way of thinking. To really see how the rabbit pulled this whole thing off, we're going to break his strategy down into a 5-part playbook. We'll start with the lion's whole power trip, then move to how the rabbit sized things up, the big lie at the center of it all, how the plan was executed, and finally, what the payoff was. First things first, let's dig into the core problem here, the lion's flex. This wasn't just a leader leading, this was a straight-up reign of terror, all built on power with no checks and balances. And you gotta look at the specific behaviors here. This is not just a predator doing its thing. No, he's snatching up smaller animals for sport. He's strutting like he owned every path. This is all about actively creating an atmosphere of fear. It's tyranny, plain and simple, and it's just begging for a challenge.
And that brings us to our strategist. Into this chaos walks the rabbit, who takes one look around and realizes, yeah, fighting fire with fire is not gonna work here. It was time for a completely different approach.
This quote right here, this is basically the mission statement for the entire operation. The rabbit knows immediately that a head-on physical fight is a losing game. This is not about being the strongest guy in the room, it's about being the smartest. This one thought defines the whole strategy. And here you can see the clash of styles perfectly. On one side, you have the lion's playbook. It's all brute force, flexing, and using fear. But on the other side, you have the rabbit's countermove, brains, observation, and a real strategy. It's a classic case of asymmetrical warfare where the only way to win against a bigger opponent is to be smarter. Now we get to the really brilliant part of the plan. See, this isn't a military operation at all. It's a psychological one. The rabbit's weapon of choice isn't a weapon at all. It's the lion's own ego. I mean, just look at how perfectly crafted this bait is. The rabbit doesn't challenge the lion himself. Nope, he creates a story that taps right into the lion's biggest insecurity. The idea of some bigger, meaner rival who's coming to take his throne. That is the perfect psychological hook.
And just like that, the lion swallows the bait, hook, line, and sinker. His reaction isn't to doubt the rabbit. It's instant anger. It's pride. He doesn't question the information. He just wants to find this challenger and take him out. The rabbit knew exactly which button to push.
The way our source puts it is just perfect. The lion's pride hits like gasoline. The rabbit didn't need to build some huge fire. All he had to do was provide one tiny spark. The plan is almost guaranteed to work because it's fueled entirely by the target's own fatal flaw.
Okay, now for the climax. The trap has been set, the bait has been taken, it's time to execute the plan, which is so elegant that the enemy actually does all the work for you.
It's a flawless 4-step execution. You lure him, you identify the target, you trigger his pride, and then you just step back. The most brilliant part is step 3. The rabbit's role is basically over. He just has to stand there and let the lion's own nature do the rest.
And there it is, the moment of truth. He's so blinded by rage, so full of arrogance. The lion can't even recognize his own face. All he sees is a challenger that has to be destroyed, and he attacks without a single second of thought, jumping right into the well. He becomes the author of his own defeat. So the lion wasn't beaten in a fight. He was defeated by a dose of reality. And this brings us to the aftermath, the real payoff of using smart power so effectively.
You see, the outcome isn't a dead king. It's a changed one. That water doesn't just get his fur wet. It seems to wash away some of that toxic pride. The humiliation is a much more powerful lesson than any physical injury would have been. He's not just beaten, he's humbled.
So what do we take away from all this? Well, these 4 points really sum it up. The biggest lesson is that intelligence can absolutely beat brute force, especially when that force is led by a massive, unchecked ego.
It shows that real strength is knowing when not to fight, and that you'll always build a more stable foundation with respect than you will with fear. And that's really what we'll leave you with. This whole thing kind of boils down to this one question. In the end, the rabbit's ultimate weapon was just a mirror. He forced the lion to literally confront himself. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? How often is the biggest obstacle we face, or the greatest weapon we can use against an opponent, simply their own perception of themselves?